It's always good on Biz Today to get a successful entrepreneur in the studio. We learn from their experience, their journey as an entrepreneur, and where they came from, what inspired or motivated them to do what it is they do today and to be able to inspire the greatness in others. We have such an entrepreneur in the studio. Bilal Kathrada is a software engineer, app developer, trainer and mentor with many years of experience in the IT industry. Bilal has worked with numerous notable companies like Vodacom, BlackBerry, Morvest Group, Durban University of Technology, Nampac Foods, Dawn Holdings, Imedia, Mancosa, and Regent Business School. That's quite a few on his credentials. He's also the CEO of CompuKids, a junior technology academy that focuses on cutting-edge technology courses for kids from the ages of 5 years old to 17 years old. And you won't believe the trainers are also young kids. It's a very inspirational story. But Bilal has been a teacher and mentor to numerous IT professionals around the country and abroad, many of whom are making waves in the IT industry. And he was also the winner of the Vodacom App Star Award in 2012, and he's a finalist in the Sita Dianco Awards 2012. Bilal is also currently the CEO of IT Varsity, an information technology institute which aims through quality education that's practical and informative to the relevant IT industries and producing graduates who are not just employable, but exceptional IT professionals. So we're very pleased to have Bilal in the studio. Welcome to Biz Today.
Thanks, and thanks for having me.
It's wonderful that we got you finally in the studio. We know you're busy running CompuKids classes, so let's just get into the conversation immediately. What motivated you to become an entrepreneur? What motivated you to own your time?
I think I was almost by default an entrepreneur without even realizing it. One of the problems I had was, as an educator and a trainer, I found that there were so many things wrong with the system, and I found the only way that I can solve these problems is from outside the system. You know, as a teacher, there's so much of bureaucracy, there's so much of bad practice, and I felt that I need to rectify things, I need to correct things, I need to put things right, and the only way to do that is to find my own way to do that without being bridled by this bureaucracy. That was the first thing. The second thing was that I found I wasn't spending enough time with my boys. I've got 3 sons, and it was becoming an issue for me, especially when I was in Johannesburg. I was working out in Sandton and living in Lens, and anybody who has done that run will tell you it takes about 1.5 to 2 hours to get to work.
That's right.
And so it was a combination of these two things. One is to make things right, and the other is to spend more time with my family. And so I started a little business, and alhamdulillah, it's been phenomenal since then.
It's always nice to know also the history or the background of the entrepreneur, where you came from, how you grew up, the childhood. So give us a brief insight into that so we understand the beginnings, so to speak.
I think if you want to look at my beginnings, the best reference is one of my ustads, one of my teachers. You know, he mentioned one time, and you know, half funny, half serious. He says, if I saw Bilal when he was just a kid, he was, and now, he was such a nondescript kid, just an ordinary kid. There was nothing outstanding about me, and you know, but I was what you could call a late bloomer, and so you know, there wasn't much other than the fact that from 10 years old I was a computer programmer and I was developing my own games already. Other than that, I had a pretty normal, ordinary childhood and upbringing.
I think back then, being a computer developer or having an interest in computers signified or signaled the beginnings of something great. Because we know, I mean, Silicon Valley itself is such a massive story that's being told every day about computer developers coming out that way.
Yes.
But you were then moving on from that. You obviously decided you wanted to go into teaching. You were a teacher for many years.
Yes.
And then moved into being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
What was that transition like? How did you bridge that stage?
It was scary. I mean, you're looking at a job where you're getting a salary every month, you've got your bonus at the end of the year, you've got your holidays, and then stepping out into the unknown, basically, where you are entirely on your own. Everything depends on you. The harder you work, the more you make. If you don't work, you don't make any money. You know, so it was a very scary transition, but it's something that teaches you to put your faith in Allah, because business, you know, by its very nature, it's risk, it's taking chances. And unlike a steady job, you don't know where the next contract is coming from, you don't know where the next client is coming from. So you are forced to put your faith in Allah Ta'ala, do the best you can, and hope for the best. So it was a very scary, but it was also very rewarding, because for once I got a chance to do things my way, the way I like to see things done. And we've produced some really, really good students, graduates in the past few years, and I'm proud of that. I mean, we've got graduates that have gone to Australia, to New Zealand. We've got graduates that actually won awards. So I'm really happy that I took that step, and we've done some amazing things.
Speaking of awards, you yourself are the recipient of many accolades, some very impressive ones. Tell us a bit more about these and how they've also inspired then your journey into your learnings with your students at your institutions.
Okay, my award, particularly the one I think you're referring to, is the Vodacom App Star Award.
Yeah.
That was, again, an answer to a problem that I was having. When I was tutoring little kids in maths, and I'm very passionate about maths, so I was tutoring kids from grade 5 through grade 7 in maths. I found that there was never enough worksheets out there, and every time I photocopied worksheets and gave it to them, within minutes they were over with them. So I decided, let's create an app that would generate those worksheets for them and get them to fill those worksheets on the app, and the app would mark the worksheets for them and give them instant feedback.
Yeah.
And it was an instant hit with the kids. So we developed this app, and then along came the Vodacom App Star Awards. A friend of mine who works at Vodacom suggested that I enter the app into the Vodacom Award, and I didn't know it's going to be a winner, and it won. And currently, we've got a grant from the Technology Innovation Agency to further develop that app and put it out into the market, and that's what I'm doing right now. It's under development. So aside from IT Varsity and CompuKids, I've got this app which is called Arithmetic, which is under development, and it's going to go on sale within a couple of months.
Go on sale. That's a dream for any developer.
Yeah.
I suppose when their app becomes a real revenue generating stream or
Yes.
point of income.
Yeah.
Because there are so many, the app economy, as we refer to it, and we'll speak about that a bit later, is something that I think is slowly becoming an accepted form or a real viable career path for many young people who are coming out of schools, universities, who haven't yet been exposed to development at an early stage, particularly at the school level, but realizing that it's something that they could do.
Absolutely.
You're running an entrepreneur course.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that?
Yes,
Can you take the viewers through a little bit about what that is? Because as much as we're sharing your story, it's also interesting to know the new economy of being with tech. So what is that about?
The entrepreneur course is, it's a well-rounded, comprehensive course that teaches you the technology aspects of building an app, but also the business aspects. Because I've met so many people that have built apps and don't really know what to do with it. How do you sell this app? How do you price this app? How do you position it in the market? How do you get it onto the app stores? Which app store? So there's a lot of things to consider before you actually you put your app up for sale. I mean, with an app, there's so many business models that you could use. Like, for example, there's a freemium business model where you put your app out for free, but charge for extra features.
That's right.
Or you would just put your app out as a completely for sale app. So how do you, as a developer, know which business model to choose? So the Entrepreneur course does that. It gives them the technology, it teaches them how to build apps, but it also teaches how to convert that app into a viable business model.
That's pretty interesting. Now, coming back to your particular story, you started out Kylix Web, which was a training company at the time. And while building that, I mean, we've got many years into Kylix Web, you suddenly get approached by a potential investor, somebody who wants you to now build another, how could we say, another training company, but particularly in the IT field, something called IT Varsity today.
Correct.
What was that experience like when you were first approached by an investor? Because for any entrepreneur who's building a startup company, that's a dream, or have gone through the process.
Correct, it is. I was actually approached by 3 investors, and I had the opportunity to pick the one that I felt was the best.
Well, that's even luckier.
Yeah, I don't think it was so much. It had so much to do with luck. I think it has more to do with people seeing the value proposition in what you're offering. If you are starting out a business, for example, when I started at Kylix Web, it was nothing. Nobody knew about it, but as you continue and working hard and building a name for yourself, building a little business, people do take notice, especially the people that you're working for. And that's why it's so important to go out there, network, make yourself known, and put yourself in a position where people can where you are visible, prospective investors can see. So I didn't actively go out looking for investors. Investors came looking for me, and so we picked one investor, and from Kylix Web we got IT Varsity, and we've never looked back since then.
You've now, with IT Varsity, decided to, and this is where successful entrepreneurs are able to distinguish themselves, is to innovate on your product offering. And you've innovated in a way that you're now introduced a completely new disruptive market, or we could say learning program for the market called CompuKids.
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Now, CompuKids I'm particularly excited about. CompuKids, it started off as a side project of IT Varsity. It was basically to create some excitement in kids from as young as 5 or 6 years old about IT.
Right.
One of the things I discovered as a software developer, particularly with my own kids, is that there's this attraction for technology, but for all the wrong reasons. When it comes to playing video games, when it comes to social media, chatting, basically just merely entertainment. So I decided, let's create an excitement around creating things with technology, creating your own video games, creating animations, creating mobile apps. So we introduced CompuKids. We spent some time, a few months, putting together a curriculum for CompuKids, and we introduced it during the July holidays as a boot camp. And the response was phenomenal. It was unbelievable. It was unexpected. So we decided, let's continue CompuKids. Let's separate it as a completely different business unit and take it from there to a point where we can now reach out to people around Durban, around the country, hopefully time to come around the world. So we're currently building a model around CompuKids where we can offer CompuKids courses to people just about anywhere in the world.
Right.
We're going full e-learning with it. In fact, besides the curriculum, we're developing an entire system of education that will allow a kid at a remote, distant part to be able to participate in CompuKids courses as if he or she is sitting in a CompuKids class. So we want to create that sort of environment. So that's what we do, and so we've started CompuKids classes at various schools. We've signed up already about 5 or 6 partner schools, with 3 more coming on board. And it's been phenomenal there. Also, it's been very exciting because schools are really seeing the value of this, and we're getting calls from all over the country for us to come and offer CompuKids classes at various schools, but we don't have the resources right now. We're building the capacity, we're building the resources. We didn't expect that kind of demand for CompuKids, but inshallah we will be there very soon.
So CompuKids is a learning program that I believe actively addresses some of our key development goals in South Africa particularly, and one of them is to be upskilled, especially in the areas around technology and innovation, which is what you're directly addressing from a very early age.
Exactly.
How do you think CompuKids is going to further help shape South African kids and South African future?
I think it's going to be revolutionary in the sense that it's not just teaching technology. Yes, the credo and the basis of CompuKids is technology, but there's so much more to it. It's all about creating this excitement around learning, around exploring, around creating. And because coding, computer programming, is so closely linked with mathematics, it's very logical, it's very closely linked with mathematics. So we've noticed that kids have become much more excited about mathematics. It also has problem solving skills. So we're teaching kids to solve problems, we're teaching kids to apply their minds, to persevere. Because we know one of the biggest problems as a parent, one of the biggest problems I find is when kids encounter a problem, within seconds they leave it because they don't have grit, they don't have that perseverance. But CompuKids provides them with an exciting way to find ways to solve problems, and they do. Just to give you an example, I was teaching a group of grade 6 kids and a game development course, and one of the kids raises his hand and he says, "Sir, I found a better way of doing it than you did." And I was like, this is not possible because I'm a software engineer and you are not. So I went and had a look at his computer, and sure enough, he had found a better way of solving the problem a more efficient way than I did. So that tells me something. It tells me that kids are immensely, amazingly resourceful, but they need motivation, and CompuKids is that motivation for them. So yes, it teaches technology, cutting edge technology, and I'm hoping that a lot of kids go on to become entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneurs. But even if they don't, it's teaching them valuable skills that they will require and they will be able to use no matter what field of study they get into.
That absolutely makes sense to me, because the role of an entrepreneur, at the end of the day, we have two roles. We are salespeople and we are problem solvers.
Absolutely.
And I think, in fact, I think we should have a Compu adults, so Compu something for adults, particularly with ADHD syndrome. But people are then taught critical problem solving skills, because we're then able to look at not only just one solution, but alternatives to that. And
Yes.
we know, as with development and writing in particular languages or coding, you can have numerous solutions to one. It's to one problem, but it's just the way you write it.
It's just the way you approach it.
So that makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm quite excited by the initiative, and I really wish you well and hope that it goes further. And
Nice.
now I'm thinking also, I do know your boys particularly, and I know that you have very, very great emphasis on family. Family is particularly important to you. How do you manage this while building successful businesses and having that vision, and you know you got to invest considerable amount of time into your business for it to work? How are you managing those two?
Very simple. It's all about priorities. When you have your priorities in place, there's time for everything. For me, a number one priority is family, always. And I've got this personal rule that family above everything, including business. So if there's an issue with my sons, if there's something that they need to speak to me about, they are given highest priority, no matter what, no matter where I am. The other thing is, having your own business gives you flexibility to be able to adjust your time according to your family needs. So for example, if I need to stop work at 3 o'clock just to be with my boys doing some kind of activity, whether it's a karate, whether it's some kind of speech contest or some kind of activity they need to attend, I can do it because I run my own business. And then I can always continue my work, whatever is left over, I can continue in the evenings, for example, and I can work till late. So having your own business, it gives you that flexibility. And I don't for once believe when people say that having your own business means you have to sacrifice everything, you have to sacrifice your family, in certain cases sacrifice your health also, just to get your business going. I don't believe in that. I believe that business can be used as a means to spend more quality time doing the things you love. And I love being with my boys, I love being with my wife and my kids, I love being with my extended family, and business affords me the flexibility to be able to do these things.
A successful entrepreneur also has a very strong partner behind them.
Yeah.
So how strong a role does your wife play in assisting you with running a business? Because side by side, you both make decisions daily that will impact that.
Correct. I think I would not have been able to do a lot of what I do without my wife. You know, they say behind every successful man, there's a woman rolling her eyes. So she's
In most cases.
In most cases. So she's the one that pretty much powers everything that, that frees me up to run my business. So when it comes to the boys, we homeschool our kids. So she takes care of that. She takes care of things at home. And very importantly, as a businessman, you go through a lot of ups and downs. You go on an emotional roller coaster because of the uncertainty of business. And if you've got a partner behind you who's there to pick you up when you need it, that's the most important thing that you can ever have. And she's picked me up from the dumps. A lot of times, there were times that, to be honest, I was ready to quit and just walk away and maybe get a job as a software engineer. I mean, I've still till now, I get lots of job offers. But she's the one that said, no, just hold on. Just wait, things will get better. And things did get better. So you need a partner like that behind you, absolutely.
That's incredible to know, because I think a lot of some young entrepreneurs or people who are in business have to manage that balance between their families, understanding the vision that they're building, and then supporting them and walking that journey with them. So it's great to know you have that on your side.
Absolutely. And you know what also helps a lot is when there are tough times, when there were times that we needed to tighten our belts and make sacrifices, then my wife was there to make the sacrifice with me. There were no complaints because we knew together that we are building a business. We've got a vision and we want to realize that vision. So I'm grateful for that also, that she was happily making sacrifice with me. It could have turned out very differently if she was a demanding person and
right.
Demanded that I need this and that. But when the time came for sacrifice, she was there and we both made sacrifice, and that took us a long way.
I think a lot of viewers, both aspiring and existing entrepreneurs, are going to be inspired by your story today. You tell a good story of coming from humble beginnings, understanding what it is you wanted to do and focused on that, and now building two businesses that are directly impacting South Africa and our developmental goals, especially for young people, which I think is critical, because I think maybe we're falling short slightly sometimes of building key critical thinking skills, as well as understanding how to leverage existing resources as opportunities. So I think you're doing well in trying to address those in your way. What are your final words of advice for people who are wishing to go into business or are in business already?
My advice to anyone that wants to get into business is there's never a right time. Just get in and do it. Just make a start. There's 1,000 reasons why your business will fail. There's always 1,000 reasons why you shouldn't do something. But it's those few people that just take that step and say, no matter what the odds are, I'm going to do it and I'm going to succeed. And these are the people that are successful. So rather than being held back by potential problems, they solve these problems and they forge ahead and they go on to build great businesses. The other thing is, don't be fooled by people who will tell you that you have to sacrifice just about everything to run a business. You don't. You have to put your priorities in order. There's a lot of people that are running immensely successful business while at the same time managing their family lives, spending time with their families, enjoying life basically. There's always the happiness factor, and that's something you need to keep in mind. Business is not all about making money. It's about solving problems. It's about uplifting people, empowering people, and being happy about what you do. If you're not happy, then you're never going to be truly successful. You may have a big bank balance that looks like a phone number, but that's not happiness now, is it? And also, very importantly, no matter what you do, whether you're in business, whether you are working, family is the most important thing. It's all about family. It's not just your wife and kids, it's your parents also. Give time to your parents. I mean, it's their du'as that are going to take you places. It's not anything else but your parents' du'as. And I think for me, a large part of my success has been my parents' du'as, my dad's advice and my mom's du'as, and that's taken me a long, long way. So yeah, that's my advice to anyone that wants to get into business.
Thank you, Bilal. It was wonderful having you in studio to share your story of entrepreneurial success, and we can only wish you all of the very best going into the future. Wonderful. We hope to have you back in the studio in the future. That was Bilal Kathrada, CEO of CompuKids and IT Varsity, and his journey obviously is something that I hope has resonated something with you. If you're an aspiring entrepreneur or an existing business owner, just take those words of advice and run with them, and use them to obviously fit what exactly will work in your life. When we come back, we'll be talking to Mandisa Jostri of Iman Consulting. She'll be telling us all about enterprise development. Didn't know what that is? Stay tuned.